So this is the first time this car will be started in a long time. So here we go. Just to give you a perspective about how loud this car is, it set off the cars behind me alarm just on startup. So as you can see, I have bought a crash damaged Mini Cooper R56 1.6 litre engine. It's the Mini Cooper S, and the damage is not even that bad. It got hit in the front, it's got creases in the bonnet, and it's been scraped on the bumper, but other than that it's not even that bad. But most importantly, what I need out of this car is the engine. Engines for sale are very expensive for the M14, and we got this just over £1,000. And the best part is we can recover most of these costs by trying to sell all these parts. I know that this is full leather seats. I know they're about £100–150. There's a few other bits that obviously I can sell, like the wing mirrors, and we've got the doors, the alloys and everything like that. So this is the Liberty Walk Mini Cooper in question. As you can see, we've got a forged intercooler. The whole cooling system's different in this. The exhaust is different, so we won't need any of these parts. And we're just mainly in about the engine. And as you can see how long it's been stood gathering dust, so it needs a good wash. I've still got the headlights and everything like that, so that one headlight can be sold as well. I cannot wait until this is up and running and I'll be able to finally drive this after all this time. Apart from the few warning lights like the airbag light and the tire, the engine is very smooth on this. So we got quite lucky that the engine doesn't need any work. These are known for the chain rattling, and there's absolutely no rattle in this, so we are absolutely good to go to just swap it over. What I've just noticed is that this is a John Cooper Works front bumper, and when I just had a quick look on eBay, these are for some weird reason around £400 to £500 just for the bumper. So the good news is the intercooler is not touched. It's not being part of the accident. The AC here is going to the bin. It's all bent up and everything. But tell me this, right? Who puts the crash bar screws on the other side of this crash bar? You've got 3 screws from the front, and then all the other screws are being held on from the back. This is what it's looking like right now. The only 2 things that we've noticed that are bad is the rocker cover is leaking. Very common fault on them. You get it, basically you have to replace them every so often. And then if you look at this, the turbo has cracked and it's seized inside, so it's spat oil down the whole engine basically. So good thing we're running a hybrid turbo, so we have no need for this turbo, but it can go straight into the bin. So the only other thing that we need to check on this is the compression of this engine, because the last thing I want to do is put this engine in the other car and turns out it's a really bad engine. So we're going to check the compression and see if it's healthy, and once it is, that's it, we've finished up today. We're waiting for the clutch plate to arrive tomorrow or the day after, and then it can go into the other car and we can get it running for the first time in so many years. So we've cleaned it all up, all the oil's gone, new rocker covers going on, hybrid turbos going on from the previous one, and new drive belts and a few other stuff that's going on. We just need to move over the intercoolers from the older one, because it's got uprated intercoolers, and then we can get ready to fit it, and that's about it really. We checked the compression and it's very good. I was very surprised by the compression. All cylinders were between 180 and 190 psi, which is absolutely amazing. It means the valves are holding, the piston rings are holding. It's very good. I'm very surprised personally, because these engines do have a tendency for a low compression, timing chain, rocker cover, electrical problems and so on, and that's the main issues of the N14 engine. But we've also had a chance to look inside the bores and check the walls and the pistons. They look spot on. There's a little mist of build up, but that's okay. The turbo failed, so that could have been the reason as well, or the fueling was off by a little bit. Maybe one of the injectors was leaking, but that's not an issue at all. So I'm really happy. We've got a very healthy engine. Now we found out that the suspension needs some work as well, so while the engine's out, we thought, why not just do the suspension now, and then we've got the clutch ready just to drop in, and the engine's ready as well, basically, and then we can put it all back together. But I'll show you the suspension, why it needs changing. There's too much play in it, and if we're doing pretty much everything, we might as well change it. So we've got some coilovers. These are staying, but why we are changing the lower arms, there's too much play in them. And look at this, I can literally just move this with my finger. This is done. So basically we're replacing the whole lower arm, the tie rods and everything involved with the suspension, and then pretty much the car will be ready to go. What I didn't know is that if you're replacing the lower arms, you have to drop the whole subframe, because the bolts are all the way down there. You can see it. There's no way of getting to them. You literally have to drop the subframe, and this is with the engine out. I honestly, it's a pain in the ass to even do if the engine's in the car. You still have to drop the subframe. It's absolutely pointless, but once the engine's out, we're here already, so we're changing everything, so it doesn't even matter for us, but it's a pain in the ass. I'll show you the guides for the timing chain. They were on their way out really. Timing chain was still tight though, so it was actually, it wasn't a bad timing chain, but I'm just changing it just for the peace of mind. So here's the guides and the chain, and the guides were already, as you can see that, they've broken already. So slight wear and tear on this. But apart from that, it's got a brand new timing chain. We're just waiting for a few parts so we can put it all together, and then it's ready to go to drop in to the Mini, and then off we go. Here's the current situation with the Mini. We've hit a roadblock and we need to order another set of parts. It turns out that the clutch master cylinder is broken, and the clutch just goes straight to the floor, and when I pressed it, all the fluid leaked out, and now we're just waiting for that. This is what it's looking like right now. Nearly everything's been put on. Both the catch cans are on. There's one here and there's one down here which will be mounted to this, and one's going to be mounted to this. If you do have an R56, get yourself a catch can, at least one. They're a little bit expensive, but the amount of oil vapors they take away, and they save you from the carbon buildup that these cars actually suffer from. This hub's being put on, and then we can get the brakes back on, and that will be done. Then on the other side, this side has already been done. We've got some red brake calipers. We know they add about 10 horsepower per wheel, so we've got an extra 20 just because they're red, and that is about it. But for now, I think this will be the end of part one. The pads that we're using are EPC yellow stuff pads. So this is what we're looking at right now. The full bumper's on. Everything is hooked up, and it's time to start it. So here we go. we still do have a clutch problem. So if you look, clutch is non-existent until our parts come to actually fix this, but we are able to start it. So this is the first time this car will be started in a long time. So here we go. That did not sound good at all. It's one, it's loud as hell. Two, it's jumping up and down on the rev ranges. I don't know if it needs an adaptation, but there's something not right with this right now. Maybe it's sucking up some air or something. I don't have a clue, but we'll look into it. But I'm really happy that it started. At least it started after all this time. So what we've got here after scanning this car, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 codes for the throttle body. So sometimes these do suffer from throttle bodies because they do have plastic gearing, but we'll swap it out. I've still got the old one from the other car as well, and then we will see if that makes a difference, because if it doesn't, then we've either got a wiring issue or an ECU issue, because obviously this ECU is mapped, but we're just gonna have to find out. This doesn't look to have anything bad with it. It opens and closes, and I've put the other one in and it's still doing the exact same stuff. So I don't think it's a throttle body issue. So I don't know what's next. So we're gonna have to check some cables. The codes are still coming up exactly the same even when you clear them. It's not got any leaks. Everything's plugged up. So either there's a wire somewhere that's basically being cut or is broken, or there's an ECU fault, which is the worst one out of all of them. But either way, it's time consuming, because to look through all of this wiring to see where the issue is, it is going to consume a lot of time. So we're just going to have to see and let's see if I can find it. I have found what it is, and it's got nothing to do with the manifold, and I spent time changing it, replacing it, looking at the cables in the manifold. Let me show you what the culprit is. So it turns out the MAF sensor is basically shorting the whole circuit, but good thing is, because we had a donor, I've got another one. So we're going to swap it around and then see how it runs, but it sounds so much better and the idle is stable. Now the last thing to do is to bleed the brakes. The clutch is fixed, and once we bleed the brakes we can finally take it out for an MOT, and then it is literally done, and then it would just be the cosmetic stuff. So we're just going to bleed this, starting from the back wheel, working to the other side, and then the passenger, and then we're ready to go to drive this thing. I'm so excited to fully drive this and not just a little bit up and down the road to see if everything's working. So as you've just seen, we've had an air leak, but the car was not running on full power, and we've got to it. These vacuum lines basically, I got them the wrong way around, and the turbo was basically not switched on. It wasn't basically running on the turbo, and I couldn't see it, because obviously you can't see this moving if it's working or not without somebody else standing here. So we got to it, swapped these lines around, and now the car runs bang on. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and I'm really happy about it. Just to give you a perspective about how loud this car is, it set off the cars behind me alarm just on startup, and it set it off.